Today we are going to talk with you about sensory integration. We will be discussing what it is, how it can be used, how it relates to self-regulation, how sensory difficulties can present in the classroom, interventions to help address sensory difficulties, and different sensory stations to set up in the classroom to benefit children. If you have any questions throughout the video, be sure to write them down as we will be available for a Q&A at a later date.
In order to make this video as comprehensive as possible, we will provide you a brief overview of what sensory integration and sensory integration therapy are in general. So what is sensory integration? Sensory integration is a term that has been used to describe processes in the brain that will allow us to take information we receive from our 8 unique senses, organize it, and respond appropriately. Most people know about our 5 primary senses, which are auditory, visual, olfactory, gustatory, and tactile, but we also have 3 more senses that are not as well known. Those include introspection, proprioception, and vestibular senses, which we will talk about much later in the video. Sensory processing difficulties can lead to deficits that can cause problems and affect behavior and life skills. Now that we know this information, let's talk about how we use sensory integration as a therapeutic tool. Sensory integration therapy, which was developed by occupational therapist Jean Ayres, is designed to help children with sensory processing problems cope with difficulties they have processing sensory input. Therapy sessions for children are typically play-oriented and may include using a variety of equipment, including swings, trampolines, fidgets, slides, foam pits, and more. Sensory integration therapies don't always have to be play-based. They can also include methods such as deep pressure, brushing, and weighted vests. These therapies can be used to calm children who are experiencing sensory overload or stimulate a child who is feeling sensory avoidant. Sensory integration is believed to increase a child's threshold for tolerating sensory-rich environments, make transitions less disturbing, and reinforce positive behaviors.
Now we will be discussing self-regulation and what that term means. Self-regulation is a term used to describe how students can control their bodies and make themselves comfortable to function at a productive level in each environment. In relation to rest time, students need to regulate their bodies by calming themselves down and lowering their energy levels in order to remain quiet, not disturb others, and rest. This process comes naturally to some students, and the calm music and lowering of the lights automatically helps their bodies calm down. For students with sensory processing disorder, this can be challenging because their bodies may be feeling uncomfortable. They may not be properly filtering the sensory aspects of their environment, such as sound or light, in the same way as other students, making it very hard for them to feel comfortable and settle down to rest. As previously mentioned, students need to be able to filter a variety of different senses coming into their brain during rest time in order to calm down, such as smells or light, for example. While this process is natural for many of us, some students have difficulties with this process. Students can be overly sensitive to these environmental aspects or hypersensitive and may avoid certain senses. Students can also be underly sensitive, which is called hyposensitive. Students who are hyposensitive need more sensory input for their brain to register it, so they may crave sensory experiences. Different strategies can be used to facilitate self-regulation based on a child's sensory preferences. For example, noise-canceling headphones can be helpful to students who are hypersensitive to sound. The following sections will describe different senses and different preferences for people can have for each sense.
Now let's talk more in depth about our senses and differences children may experience in their sensory processing. Our senses help us take in sensory information into the brain and help us understand the world around us. When we are experiencing difficulty processing our senses, the world can seem scary, unorganized, and difficult to understand. Let's take a look at the different difficulties children could possibly be facing from a perspective of each sense. First, let's talk about our auditory sense. Our auditory sense is how we interpret noise from the environment. Noises travel through our ears and to the brain. The brain processes this information and allows us to be alert to sounds within the environment, tell us directions that sounds are coming from, and lets us know if sounds are safe or dangerous. They also help us communicate with other people. Some children may be hypersensitive to sound, which means they dislike loud, unexpected noises such as sirens or school bells. They startle easily when hearing an unexpected sound and can be easily distracted by background noises such as a lawnmower, air conditioner, refrigerator noise, or buzz from fluorescent lights. Let's watch a short clip to see an example of what this could look like in the classroom. As you can see, Leah is exhibiting sensitivity to sound as she is covering her ears to try to limit the noise. While some children may be very sensitive to sound, others actively try to seek sounds. This is called being hyposensitive to auditory input. These children love to play music and television at loud volumes. They enjoy noisy environments such as sports centers, shopping centers, malls, and movie theaters. Let's watch a video to see how this could present in the classroom environment. As you can see, Leah is exhibiting sound-seeking behavior by aggressively shaking the loud ball right next to her ear. Lastly, children can be slow to react to sounds. This means that they may not respond when their name is called and may ignore auditory cues that other children naturally respond to. Let's see what this could look like in the classroom by watching a short clip. Leah, Sukhman, come here. As you can see, Leah stayed and did not come over here when called. They're exhibiting slow response to sound, while the other child is exhibiting typical auditory behaviors. Now that you have seen what these behaviors can look like in the classroom, let's discuss some interventions you can use to help children with these difficulties. For hypersensitive children, teachers can place rugs to soften the sound level, place tennis balls under chairs, shut the doors and windows, or place rubber strips around the door, allowing students to work better in this environment. They can also give children advance notice about fire alarms, bells, and other loud noises so that they're aware of what's going to happen, and allow them to wear earplugs, headphones, or earmuffs before the alarm or bell. Also, having a space in the room away from the main play areas that is meant for one friend and is quiet and calming and has calming items such as a blanket, beanbag chair, books, and other things can also be helpful to hypersensitive children to retreat to if they are feeling overwhelmed. Therapeutic listening can also be used to help children. It trains the brain to be less sensitive to sound and is helpful for children who have trouble attending to noisy environments. This method requires a specialty training before use. For children who are slow to react, giving them time to respond is key. If they are interrupted before they have time to process the sounds they've heard, that gives them a whole new set of sounds to process, which can be overwhelming to them and prevent them from responding at all. Having a child be closer to sounds they must process is helpful. For example, sitting in front of the room closest to the teacher, or having them close during story time or circle time so they can process what is being said. Lastly, for children who are hypersensitive to sounds, headphones are helpful. They can listen to louder music or sounds in order to prevent them from making sounds themselves when they are seeking, especially during rest time when other children are looking to avoid sounds to sleep. Let's move on to discussing our visual sense. The visual sense is how we interpret sights from the environment. The visual system uses light to detect information through our eyes and then interprets or makes sense of that information in the brain. This sense helps us navigate safely in our environment by orienting us to where we are in relation to other objects. Children can be hypersensitive to sights, meaning that they can be distracted by visual stimuli around them or feel overwhelmed by large varieties of colors, posters, and constant movement of others. This can cause them to have trouble focusing, which can overall affect their ability to learn. Let's look at a video to see an example of what this can look like in the classroom. As you can see, Sukhman is having a negative reaction to her messy work area and does not want to be there anymore. Children can also be hyposensitive to sights. This means that they barely notice surroundings unless unless details and objects are pointed out to them. They may stare at the same point for extended periods of time, and they may get lost in a visual activity. They also may lose interest quickly in visual activities. Let's see what this could look like in the classroom.
Leah, can I have a turn? Leah.
As you can see, this child is very distracted by the strong visual colors of the toy and is having trouble attending to the other senses in the room, such as Sukhman asking her for a turn. Now that we've learned about some difficulties children can face visually, let's talk about some interventions. For children who are hypersensitive to sights, we can create neat, clear work areas in the classroom that will benefit focus. Changing the environment to have less posters or distractions on the wall, lower lighting, and bold uniform colors have also been used to benefit children with visual processing issues. Being sure to maintain eye contact while providing a student with directions is also helpful when they are required to focus. Teachers are also encouraged to move around the classroom while speaking and using objects that the student can feel and simulate a visual and tactile input. Lastly, crawling and rolling activities are helpful to develop eye control and diffuse sensory difficulties related to vision. A hyposensitive child may benefit from a bright piece of paper underneath their work to keep them attending to what they must do in front of them. Learning materials that are also written in large, bold, and bright fonts may be helpful. This type of child may also benefit from online learning because bright screens are more stimulating. Lastly, visual sticker charts can be helpful in keeping the child focused and motivated, especially when using bright, fun stickers. Next, let's talk about our olfactory sense. Our olfactory sense is how we interpret smells from the environment. The sensory receptors in the nose pick up information about odors around them and pass that information to the channel of nerves where it eventually reaches the brain. The olfactory system can discriminate between thousands of different odors and helps us recognize whether smells are dangerous, strong, faint, pleasurable, or foul. Some children can be hypersensitive to smells. They may gag or even throw up when they encounter smells that, to most people, aren't unpleasant or even noticeable. They may even struggle at mealtime when smelling and tasting food that's presented to them, and they don't experience the same pleasant memories or good experiences with smells that other people do. Let's see what this could look like in the classroom. As you can see, Sukhman is sensitive to the strong scent of the hand sanitizer. You can tell by her unpleasant reaction when the other person put the sanitizer on. Other children may be hyposensitive to smells. These children crave certain smells frequently and are frequently holding non-food items to their nose to smell them. These children have little understanding of safe versus dangerous smells, which can lead to safety issues. They could possibly be drawn to strong smells, such as cleaning chemicals or strong scented permanent markers. Let's play a video and find out what this could look like in the classroom. As you can see, Sukhman is craving a strong scent. Therefore, she smells the marker repeatedly because she may not understand that smelling the marker can be dangerous. After learning about how difficulties with the olfactory sense can appear in the classroom, let's learn about possible interventions to address it. For children who are hypersensitive, try to limit strong smells in the classroom and opt for fragrance-free cleaners. Also, identify smells that are not bothersome to the child and try to use those in the classroom to either cover up smells that are bothersome or help the child relax after smelling something they did not enjoy. For example, a smelly necklace can be made using essential oils for the child to wear so that it is the primary smell that they are experiencing throughout the day. At lunchtime, the child can be seated away from other children and with children who have similar food items to them to limit mixing of smells and to prevent the child from being overwhelmed. You can also create a visual storybook to help the child visualize what they should do if they encounter a smell they do not like. This can involve panels on identifying smell, walking away from the smell, and using a coping mechanism to make themselves feel better. For children who are hyposensitive to smells, peppermint scents have been known to energize them and popcorn and coffee aromas affect mood. Vanilla, chamomile, and pine create a relaxing atmosphere. You can also provide a visual chart showing these children which smells are safe to enjoy and which smells are not safe to enjoy. When they are seeking a smell, They can also have a smelly necklace made for them with a smell they enjoy in order to prevent them from seeking out dangerous smells.
Tactile is an individual's sense and perception of touch. The next thing we will discuss is hypersensitivity. Students can be hypersensitive to touch, meaning that they process touch with less input than other individuals. For example, light touch can feel painful to them, and they tend to avoid touching others or objects with texture because of this. What you could expect to see from students who are hypersensitive to touch is avoiding touching other students or objects with various textures, such as sand or Play Doh. They may become upset when touched and avoid hugs or shaking hands. Certain clothing can also be disruptive, such as sweaters made with itchy material, clothes with tags, and tightly fitted hats, gloves, socks, and other types of clothing. Now, let's watch a video of a student who is hypersensitive to touch. As you can see, the feeling of this ball in Julia's hands is uncomfortable and too much for her to handle. The next component we will discuss is hyposensitivity to touch. Students can also be hyposensitive to touch, meaning they do not feel the sense as easily, or it takes more for their body to register that they are touching something or being touched. These are the students that may have limited awareness of personal space and can be observed bumping into other students or teachers, for example. What you could expect to see from a student who is hyposensitive to touch would be limited awareness of personal space, bumping into others, and willingness to touch various objects and surfaces. Now let's watch a video of a student who is hyposensitive to touch. Julia is seeking various tactile inputs and is touching everything she sees. Next, we will discuss some interventions or strategies that can be used to help these students. Some interventions for hypersensitivity include removing tags from clothing when possible and selecting more loosely fitting clothes with softer material. Use deep pressure instead of light touch. Although light touch for these students may feel uncomfortable or even painful, deep pressure massage will be more easily tolerated. For example, instead of lightly scratching a student's back during rest time using your nails, try to rock them and rub their backs in a firmer way, as this will feel more comfortable to them. Setting boundaries is another way to help ensure comfort for these students. Encourage students who are tactile sensitive to set boundaries for what they are comfortable with. For example, ask them first if they would like a hug or back rub at rest time and allow them to decline respectfully based on their comfort level. Some interventions for hyposensitivity include providing sensory stations in the classroom that include various safe materials that can be touched and played with, such as slime, Play-Doh, or finger paint. Set classroom boundaries and rules to ensure that they are keeping personal space between themselves and other students and teachers as well. Gustatory is an individual's sense of taste. What is interesting about taste is that different types of tastes are processed by our brains differently. This is relevant to sensory regulation because some tastes help us to feel calm, while others help us to feel more alert. Sweet tasting snacks, such as bananas, fruit, cookies, pudding, or yogurt, are typically more calming. Possibly suggesting children to eat sweeter snacks before rest will help their bodies relax before rest time. Now, let's watch a simulation video of a student eating a sweet snack. As you can see, Sukhman is eating a sweet tasting snack, which gives a more calming effect and can prepare her for rest time. Savory and sour tasting snacks and crunchy foods such as chips, pretzels, hummus, and veggie sticks, and anything with a strong flavor such as mints or sour candy are generally more alerting in terms of taste and will help children become more alert and wake up their bodies. One suggestion would be having them save these types of snacks for the afternoon after rest time to help wake up their bodies for the rest of the school day. Now, let's watch a simulation video of a student enjoying a savory snack. As you can see, Sukhman is eating a savory and crunchy snack, which will help her become more alert and wake up her body after rest time.
Introspection is a sense that helps you understand and feel what is going on inside your body. It regulates vital functions such as body temperature, hunger, digestion, and heart rate. There are receptors inside our organs that send information about these functions into our brain. Children who are hypersensitive to sensory input may overreact to interoceptive sensation. This means they may eat more than other kids to avoid the feeling of hunger, or use the bathroom more often because they don't like the feeling of a full bladder. Now we'll watch a video of a child overreacting to interoceptive sensation.
Miss Leah, can I have more food? You already ate all of the food in your lunchbox today.
As you can see, Julia is avoiding the feeling of hunger by trying to overeat. Children who are hyposensitive to sensory input may not feel or respond to sensations when they should. They may take longer than other kids to learn to use the bathroom or have more frequent accidents. They may also not know when they are hungry, so they tend to not eat as often. Other behaviors you may see are they may have trouble feeling pain. Pain tends to feel ticklish, and itchy sensations feel like pain. They also have more frequent meltdowns since they have trouble feeling their emotions. For example, they may not feel fear because they can't recognize tense muscles, fast heart rate, or shallow breathing. Now we'll watch a video of a child underreacting to interoceptive sensation.
How come you're not eating your lunch? I don't think I'm hungry. Well, your lunchbox is full. Maybe you should just have a snack. Okay, I will.
As you can see, Julia did not understand that she was hungry and needed a verbal cue to begin eating. Common interventions to help with these behaviors are mindfulness activities like meditation. This helps kids become more aware of interoceptive sensations in their bodies. Yoga helps them focus on listening to their bodies and provides good proprioceptive and vestibular input. It encourages them to look internally and focus on how the body and mind is feeling. Heavy work activities involve large muscles of the body, which is good for interoception. Finally, alerting activities such as jumping jacks and running can help a child feel what a racing heart rate and a fast heartbeat feels like. The proprioceptive system is located in our muscles and joints. It provides us with a sense of body awareness and detects and controls force and pressure. Proprioceptive input can be very common for those who are easily overwhelmed by sensory stimulation. It can be alerting for those who need increased sensory stimulation to facilitate attention and learning. Seeking proprioceptive input is indicatory of sensory processing dysfunction. In order to improve these difficulties, therapists implement sensory strategies in the classroom environment to improve their academic performance. Typical indicators a student is seeking proprioceptive input are they may bite or chew on objects such as a sleeve or a pencil, hyperextend their joints such as bending their fingers back and locking knee joints. They may hold objects with excessive pressure such as their pencil when writing. They tend to enjoy touch and tumble activities rather than calming activities. Also, they like to engage in weight-bearing activities like swinging on desks and climbing. Now we'll watch a video of a child seeking proprioceptive input. As you can see, this child is using more pressure than needed to draw, indicating that they are seeking proprioceptive input. Common interventions to help with these behaviors are having the child sit on therapy balls to provide vestibular and proprioceptive stimulation, which will help them attend to the task. Deep pressure provides a physically calming sensation. To provide deep pressure input, the teacher can use a weighted vest or blanket, which will help the child who is easily distracted by decreasing hyperactivity. Another great way to work on balance, proprioception, and motor skills is to have the child engage in outdoor recess, specifically weight bearing activities like crawling and push ups, resistance activities like pushing and pulling, and heavy lifting activities like carrying heavy materials and books all provide proprioceptive input. The vestibular system tells the brain about where the head is in space and how the body is moving through space. It is responsible to provide information regarding movement and balance. People use vestibular input to maintain upright posture, balance, and move through space. Problems with the vestibular system result in balance deficits, excessive physical activity, avoidance of physical activity, motion sickness, and changes in arousal level. Typical indicators a student is seeking vestibular input is they may display poor visual processing, spatial awareness, and visual motor skills. They may also exhibit poor balance, difficulty with bilateral integration, sequencing deficits, poor discrimination of body movement, and subtle difficulties discerning the orientation of their head. Now we'll watch a video of a student displaying vestibular difficulties. As you can see, Julia is displaying poor balance, indicating that she is having trouble understanding where she is in space. Interventions to help work on these behaviors is to have the child rock back and forth on a rocking chair or sitting on a therapy ball while completing tasks. Gentle stretches, especially at the neck and back, helps with vestibular input. Physical activity like yoga, tai chi, animal walks, and slow marching are all beneficial as well. Having the child tuck and roll will also help. This means to have them put their body in the shape of a ball and rock back and forth slowly on their back.
Now let's apply the information we learned about the senses into a sensory avoidant case study. As we watch this video, think about the behaviors you are seeing, what could be causing these behaviors you are seeing, and possible interventions we can use to address these behaviors.
Leo, what's wrong? Why aren't you sleeping?
It's too bright in here and it smells bad.
Why don't you try this blanket?
No, I don't want the blanket.
Now, what did we notice in this video? Let's lay it out. The person in the video noted that the room was loud and smelled bad, they were covering their eyes, and they did not want to use the blanket. What could be causing the child to act this way? There are a variety of different factors that could be contributing to them feeling uncomfortable. Their cot could be positioned near the lunch tables, and they could be smelling their friends' lunches, which could be unpleasant for them if they are hypersensitive to smell. If they are by a window, the light outside could be too bright and distracting for them to sleep if they are hypersensitive to sights. When they complain that the room is loud, it could be coming from noises no one else notices, such as the fan in the room or people talking outside the door. And lastly, they might have rejected the blanket because they are feeling tactile defensive to an unfamiliar item. How can we intervene to give this person a more relaxing rest time? We need to address all the things that we just identified as possible causes. Moving the cot away from the lunch area and windows could be helpful to limit smells and bright lights. Allowing the child to have a non-bothersome scented stuffed animal or blanket could help them avoid smelling their other friends' lunches as well. Allowing the child to wear headphones or earplugs to help them nap could limit the noises they are hearing in the classroom. And lastly, it would be helpful for them to bring a blanket or rest materials from home so that they are not feeling tactile defensive to different and new objects.
Now, let's watch a video of a child who is sensory seeking at rest time.
Julia, why are you rolling around?
I don't know.
Why are you biting your sleeve?
I don't know.
What did we notice in this video? During rest time, there may be specific behaviors noted in a sensory seeking child. For example, She is rolling around on her cot. The child may be kicking her feet on the ground because she is craving deep pressure input, similar to what we saw in the video. We also noticed in the video that the child was starting to chew on her sleeve. This also indicates that she's craving deep pressure input to her jaws and mouth, and it is a typical behavior of a sensory seeking child. What is the cause? The child may need extra proprioception to know where her body is in space because she might have limited awareness of this. The firm pressure from rolling around and kicking her feet helps her process this sense better. How can we intervene to help this child? Deep pressure massage is always helpful. Ask if you can rub her back and legs. Give her deep pressure squeezes to her joints and shoulders. Ask if she wants to be tucked in like a burrito. Tucking children in firmly and tightly under the covers helps give them proprioceptive input that they may be seeking. Weight bearing and gross motor activity before rest time can also be helpful. Having the students do wall push ups, animal walks, or carry heavy books around the classroom right before rest time for about 10 minutes. The work must be heavy and tiring for the student. This type of work will help relax all students before rest time. However, it is very helpful to a child who is seeking proprioception. Weighted stuffed animals or blankets can sometimes be helpful and calming as well. However, be cautious with weighted blankets as the right weight has to fit the child's body weight. For extra proprioception before rest time, have the child chew a piece of gum before rest time, as this will give them deep pressure proprioception to their jaws. Having a chewy object during rest time may also be relaxing to the child.
The classroom environment should accommodate for a child's sensory differences and promote strengths for them to be successful. Everyone can benefit from sensory strategies whether they have special needs or not, which is why it is an effective way to address sensory needs is to use sensory strategies for all students so children with sensory specific needs don't feel different from their peers. Background music is helpful for students who are hypersensitive to the environment. Playing soft classical music or nature sounds while the students are working can help them filter out any distractions. Fluorescent lighting is often seen in most classrooms. However, for a student with light sensitivity, this may be distracting or painful. Turning off the lights and letting the natural light come in from outside is an easy way to make these students more comfortable. Hyperactivity is one of the main distractions in the classroom. Students may have difficulty staying in their seat and need constant movement. A simple way to allow body movement is to have the students pass out or pick up materials before completing a seated activity. Tasks such as passing out materials allows body movement and the release of energy. The teacher can place items throughout the classroom at high and low surfaces, which will allow appropriate movement. The heaviness of materials such as marker boxes provide input to the sensory system, which can help reorganize the body and help them focus on learning. Another simple method to provide movement is to have morning yoga and stretches before beginning the class to allow the muscles and the brain to wake up and get ready for work. Sensory stations provide sensory input to students with a variety of sensory needs. Different stations can be set up around the classroom, and the students can rotate through them to discover different textures and movement patterns. Now we'll watch a video showing examples of the stations. Here is station 1 of our sensory stations. It contains rough, soft, wet, and dry items, such as sponges, Play-Doh, beads, and spiky balls. Here is station 2. This station contains sticky items, such as glue, wiki sticks, and sticky rubbery fidgets. Here is station 3. This station contains a variety of art material, such as construction paper, ribbons, and paint. Here is Station 4. This is the physical activity station that contains games that require movement, such as a basketball hoop, a scooter board, and a trampoline. Here is Station 5. This is the relaxation station that contains relaxing items such as beanbag chairs, soft pillows, and books.
We hope that you found this video helpful and informative and will use some of these strategies in your classroom if you notice any of these behaviors from your students. We will be available for a Q&A to help clarify any points at a later date, so if you have any questions, we can answer them for you. Thank you so much for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed it.